Kevin, it's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Ramone. Happy to be here.
Could we kick off by telling us a little bit about your business?
Of course, but thank you so much for C3. That's been a home run for us. That's been, I can't tell you how well that's worked out. Thank you. Ankura. So Ankura is a management consulting firm. It's a firm with over 1,500 professionals. Our biggest offices are London, New York, and Washington, D.C. Our management consulting services includes dozens of different types of services for clients. And we're really well known in a bunch of different areas, and we really have been hitting way above our weight so far in the marketplace. Very proud of who we are, even though we're just embryonic today.
One of the things that we've noticed your growth, rapid growth trajectory, particularly after your investment from Madison Dearborn. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that investment meant for your inorganic and M&A objectives?
Oh, sure. Madison Dearborn, that investment back in February of 2016 was a milestone event for us, a real inflection point. Up until that point, we had a lot of people that we had talked to. That's myself, Roger Carlyle, the CEO, Phil Dodona, the other co-president of the firm, about how we wanted to fund our business and what kind of partners, real partners, we wanted in our business. And we started looking at private equity firms, and Madison Dearborn's name came up. Roger Carlyle and Phil Dodona knew Madison Dearborn. I didn't know them as well, but they came out as someone that we would want to partner with.
And looking at some of your recent acquisitions, the acquisition of Navigant's disputes and transaction advisory business really stands out. What is your approach to looking at acquisition targets and seeing if it'd be a right fit?
The way we look at acquisitions, it's part opportunistic, and it's part targeted. Some of the things like C3 was very targeted. We were looking for a firm that was strong in performance improvement and strategy, and that really kind of fit a need that we had. The Navigant transaction was completely different. We weren't looking for a carve out of a big consulting firm, management consulting firm. That just happened to kind of come across, and when we found that that was available, we took a look at it and indicated our interest and pursued, and eventually turned out to be the winner of that purchase.
And the deals that you've made recently have meant big expansion and a big elevation of the Ankura brand in the market. How have you seen that play out in terms of new client wins?
It's been very interesting. Our brand has grown quite a bit. When we first started, as I said earlier, we were punching way above our weight in terms of winning engagements. Early on, there was a very big opportunity for us. It was to be the monitor of the VW emissions settlement. So what that was a settlement of $15 billion to pay out all of the different claimants that had been affected by the emissions issue that VW had. And what we did was we competed, put together a team of experts pulling across many different disciplines within our firm, and were able to put together a firm that eventually beat out very large multinational firms that were, I think, scratching their head as to how could this firm possibly have won that mandate. So a huge mandate for us, and very important for us in terms of our growth.
Your business now has grown into a pretty large management consulting firm and really respected in the market. What is it about your culture that makes you different to other consulting businesses that are out there?
Our story is, in our minds, very unique. When I was talking to the people that I eventually joined with at Ankura, Roger Carlyle and Phil Dodona, one of the things that we wanted above everything else was to be collaborative. And I think, first of all, I think collaborative is a word that's overused and maybe not where people actually live what collaboration is, but they say it because maybe it sounds good. But what we wanted as a firm was to bring people in who were not only smart, helpful, client-oriented professionals. What we wanted was people who were really open to being bigger and better as we move forward. And so what does that mean? That means that when we work towards and figure out opportunities in the marketplace, it's not where one specific practice group will say, hey, this is what we do, we're only going to chase this. actually what it is all different practice groups will talk amongst each other and figure out what the best course of action is, who are the best people to go to that pitch and work on that client if we win that work for that client. So you don't see that in a lot of the big firms out there today. There's a lot of eat what you kill mentality, but the way we've set up our reward and recognition system, it really supports a culture of collaboration. And what we've done too is that in our recruiting process for our firm, which we were very particular about starting out, when I look back at our first 600 hires, for instance, the first 600 people in our firm, 400 of those professionals were organic, meaning that they were individuals or two people that joined our firm, but those individuals were people that we knew, one of the three of us knew really, really well, or someone that we knew really, really well, knew them really, really well. And that was very important to us to build the underpinnings of this culture that we want, because one of the things that we thought through was if we do grow at a rate that we are today, how do we maintain the culture? And one of the best ways to do that is hire the people that actually live that. And it was a very interesting process, as a matter of fact. We started by saying, hey, we're open for business back in January of 16 when I joined, when there were only 10 people. And the phone started ringing. People started emailing and saying, hey, I'd love to join, I'd love to talk to you guys about what's going on there. I'm okay where I am, but there's a lot of nonsense that I have to deal with, a lot of politics. I'd love to go to a place where politics are at a minimum, and you're really all about having fun, working with your colleagues. And you know what? If you do that in the right way, the compensation and the recognition rewards come with that. So that it's simple in its kind of conceptual element, but it's fairly sophisticated in trying to execute something like that. And again, I go back to what I was saying earlier, that collaboration is it's a multifaceted word that means a lot of different things to people, but it's a very specific thing to us.
One of the things that we were talking about earlier was, the brand now really being recognized as one of the top, restructuring firms that are out there. And I think we were talking about, an attorney referring now to Ankura being one of the big four.
Yeah, that was a very interesting conversation. So he was a senior attorney at a very large law firm, and I was talking to him about our firm and about services that we do. And then just during the course of the conversation, he's like, yeah, our firm, we call you, you guys are part of the big four. And immediately I was thinking about the accounting firms. I'm like, how does that work? And he went on to say, no, the big four, you're part of the big four management consulting firms in your space. So I paused, I reflected, I was like, wow, that's a really, really great compliment to get. And I asked him, I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to use that again. He goes, no, go right ahead. So here we are today.
Looking forward, what is your vision for growth?
Well, first of all, what we want to do as a firm is, as we've talked about, we've grown quite a bit, going from 10 professionals in January of 2016 to over 1,500 today. And with that comes, how do we keep up the infrastructure and the coordination, the systems, and most importantly, the culture of the firm. So we want to make sure that that's kind of all set and put in place, and that's going to be a big part of 2019. But with the acquisition of Navigant, especially the carve out of Navigant, what we're looking towards is, now we're in different cities, London, Singapore, Sydney, Hong Kong, a lot of big cities, a lot of important cities around the world. And how do we build on what do we have today to make those businesses broader and deeper within those different geographic regions to make our firm better and more important to our clients. Our clients, as you know, Ramone, are multinational and they expect a lot, and most of them would like one-stop shop. So if there is a trusted advisor, they could call and say, hey, can you deal with this issue? If a client calls me up from New York and says, hey, we have this issue in Sydney, can you take care of it? And it's great to say, yeah, we can take care of that. Of course we can. And we want to really strategize smartly about how we build our business around the world. We're not a revenue play. And that's why I hesitated a little bit when you asked about the strategy piece and growing piece, because it's not growth for growth's sake. We want to be very smart about how we look at our business, how we look at what the businesses will be like in 5 years. There's things we do today that won't be there in 5 years. There's businesses that will be there in 5 years that aren't there today, that our clients, will need. When I look at the history of management consulting services, and I've been in it for over 3 decades, the types of services and what clients would want were kind of linear of how they would grow. And with all the things going on in the world today, particularly technology and how that impacts what clients do and what they need, it's so important for us to really, really take a hard look at ourselves all the time about what we do, how we go about what we do, and what do we want to become. And that brings me back to the culture that we have. One of the things that differentiates us as well, as I was bringing up this fact before, is that if you're a management consulting firm and your different practice groups only work within themselves and they don't really collaborate with other groups within that firm, there's a lot of lost innovative, creative thinking that would come from Ramone. If you're in a different group, from me in Ankura, and then there was something that came up in the marketplace, well, my goodness, we would talk about it. How do we take advantage of it? How do we serve our clients better? And that happens a lot. And so when you have those kind of conversations and discussions with people all across different disciplines that we have, what you get is ideas, creativity, and then what that does is it permeates its way down through everyone in the firm. We want to make an impact, for our clients. We want to, of course, we want to make money and all that stuff, but having fun and making an impact is such a rewarding thing. And then to see our younger folks be so enthusiastic about working for our firm, it's also a recruiting tool, because they tell their friends, and their friends all of a sudden are calling us and saying, hey, can we join your firm? Which is, it's just a great, we've built a great environment so far.
When you looked at some of your recent acquisitions, C3 Consulting, Navigant's disputes, and transaction advisory business, what was it about those companies that resonated with your acquisition strategy?
Well, with C3, it was, when that came across, and thank you for that, when that came across, it was very important that before seeing that we added this element of bringing operational management consultants in that could solve challenges that our clients have. And having that aspect of a management consulting firm is hugely important. And finding C3 we were very fortunate to find them and to ultimately buy them. And what that just brought a different element in what we could bring to our clients. Clearly something we were looking for, and a really interesting company that while it's today it's geographically focused in the Southeast, its reach as far as working on the largest clients in the U.S. is incredible. They work on some of the largest clients, and they just think nothing of it. They're just like, oh yeah, we got called by this big insurance company, this big healthcare company, and we got to go there, meet with these senior folks, and we got to do this for them, and they're always very, very busy. So that aspect of our business at Ankura is something that we want to expand on, deepen, broaden, and take that type of service around the world. With respect to Navigant, that purchase was a great moment for us as well. What that gave us is certainly gave us the international footprint that if you're in professional services firms, you understand how difficult it is to grow internationally. One of the things I always tell people that in growing a professional services firm, you could be the smartest person on the planet, but if you have not grown a firm outside the U.S., you're in for a few surprises and a few mistakes that maybe turn into big mistakes. But for us, the Navigant purchase, given that Roger, Phil, Dodona, and myself had grown the previous firm we had been at internationally, we had all the knowledge and what works in different countries, and that when the Navigant opportunity came up, we were like, wow, this fits great as far as the international aspect of it, and then the business aspect of it was also a tremendous fit. It was like two gloves coming like this. There was virtually no overlap in services, except for some of the technology services that are legacy Ankura and legacy Navigant performed. But other than that, it was a tremendous fit, and we couldn't believe how well it fit. And to the cultural aspect of it, the services, some of the professionals, the senior professionals over at Navigant, some of our folks knew really well. And when they heard about this, that this was an opportunity, they were like, oh my goodness, raise their hand. Oh my goodness, you have to bring those folks in. Those professionals are great at what they do. They're culturally aligned with us. We really need to get this deal done.
How does Madison Dearborn play into these acquisitions?
A great question. Madison Dearborn gives us, obviously they give us the capital to make the acquisitions, but they have been a tremendous partner for our firm. Their reputation is stellar in the marketplace. What they're known for is being partners with senior management of their portfolio companies. They work really hard at doing whatever's necessary for their portfolio companies. And we couldn't have found a better partner, a better firm that was culturally aligned with us. It's interesting, we found out as well that within Madison Dearborn, they're incented. All the partners are incented to make sure that they all work for all the different portfolio companies to make sure they're all better, versus just focusing on one or two portfolio companies. So they've been a tremendous asset for us. So what does that mean? Okay, so I said that capital, great, great business partners, but their reputation in the marketplace is similar to how we feel our reputation is in the marketplace, and that is, over time, we have been helpful, consistent, collaborative people, and we never say one thing and do a different thing. And Madison Dearborn is the same way. So when people professionals, when they want to join us, they look at, okay, you guys at Ankura, but what about Madison Dearborn? Then they say, oh my goodness, it's Madison Dearborn? Those guys are great as well. You guys couldn't have picked a better shop to have a partner with. And so it's been a huge help to get those individual professionals in the firm. And it goes the same for the larger purchases, like the Navigant purchase. They were very helpful, and how they are as a firm is something that everyone around the table recognized, and that it just carries so much in a process, as you know very well, Ramone, in an M&A process, credibility, keeping to your word, and being smart about the whole process and being commercial is a way to get deals done, and they're extraordinary at it.
What is it that attracts new consultants to your business?
Our business it's challenging. It's challenging for individuals to figure out what management consulting firm, if that's what they want, where they want to work, and why they want to work there. A lot of colleagues that are now with us that joined me early on, it was a very similar theme. And the theme was, for the rest of my career, I can work on a lot of great projects, generate a lot of great projects. I can make a decent dollar for those projects. But you know what? Where I am, I'm not having a lot of fun There's not a lot of connectivity within our firm. What I would love is to work for a firm, work for a real firm that cares about its people, that really wants them to grow, wants them to collaborate, and where politics are at a minimum. And that's what we've kind of created. And that, as I said, it really just feeds on itself.
So, we're seeing a lot of disruption in the consulting market currently. How do you see the market evolving?
It's another great question. It's a very interesting market. And you could look at it one way and say the larger management consulting firms are getting larger. You could take a look at the big four accounting firms, if that's what they're still called. I think they're big four management consulting firms, and how they're doing. And my view is that those firms, are starting to see, maybe because of conflicts, because of regulatory shifts in different, like EMEA, there's a lot of change going on there with respect to what's going to be allowed with respect to the big accounting firms. So they're really taking a look at where should we be eventually? What are we going to be eventually? So I see a lot of changes going forward in that regard. With respect to that same point on the big four accounting firms, my view is that they're going to need to, how are they, like in restructuring, for instance, how are they going to really penetrate the U.S. market? A lot of them have tried. A lot of them still have businesses within the U.S., but there's so many restrictions with respect to conflicts, with respect to regulatory impediments, and therefore it's almost impossible for them to be really relevant in the U.S., and which is a consternation and a frustration to their colleagues around the world who, if a partner in a big four firm out of London has this multinational opportunity that's coming up, but they need a real known set of colleagues in the U.S., well, they're not necessarily going to have that, and because they don't have that, then that type of work would go to the type of firms that we are, which is not something that I think makes those big four firms happy. But I do see, just to kind of come back around, I do see a lot more volatility. I see them being also, a lot of big firms being aggressive in the marketplace and spending a lot of money and seeing what works, especially around the technology space, digital.
So what's your future look like?
Unbelievably bright. I might be a little biased, Ramone, but I think that we've built such a foundation where we are today that could take us in so many different places. And not just geographic, but having the ability to be nimble in changing, adjusting to the marketplace of services that are required. Like one of the things that interests me quite a bit is organizational change and cultural assessment. I actually think that that's going to be something that becomes more and more important as people come to understand, as private capital comes to understand how important that those type of services are. And what does that mean? So cultural assessment could have meant 10 years ago bringing someone in as a coach for the chief executive officer or for some of the senior executives. It could mean it could have meant back then, how do we get a few of these senior folks aligned in terms of corporate strategy? I think today, when you look at balance sheets today versus 20 years ago, balance sheets 20 years ago were heavy into fixed assets, 80% fixed assets, and today it's just the inverse. It's 80% people, pretty much. And if that's your asset, how do you manage that asset? And when you look at how a company is run, the management processes, it's no longer that specific boxes for a specific type of company is the way you manage it. It's so much more complicated. And one of the business lines that we have, Advanced Human Capital, does a great job at assessing how a company manages itself, how a company sets itself out for a year to hit its financial goals for the year. How does that company hit its cultural goals for the year? And the individual who runs this has come up with this proprietary product that it puts a value. It literally puts a value on what that cultural aspect of a company is, and then he can come back 6 months later and revalue that same cultural aspect of the company, and then you can take a look at what that delta is and what's causing that delta. And obviously, as part of that first phase, he would talk about how the things you can make better and run the company better. But I know this might sound a little ethereal, but I do believe that advanced human capital and looking at how companies are run, how they're run, is so important. So in the future, what we want to be as a firm is a firm that grows smartly. We have a great foundation. We have a lot of people that are very smart and very aggressive and are looking for opportunities to innovate and to create answers, solve problems for our clients. And that's going to be a lot of fun for us. So it wouldn't surprise me if we were twice our size 3 years from now. I never would have imagined, as I said earlier, that we'd be at the size we are today, from 10 professionals 3 years later to 1,500 professionals. But where we are today, I can easily see where we go from 1,500 professionals to 3,000 professionals. And again, it's when you go back and discuss culture and how things feed on itself, and how people have been saying, or companies have been saying, hey, we would like to join you. Just more and more people have been coming to us. I can't tell you, Ramone, how many people have called me just in the last 2 months about, hey, I'm going to leave my firm and I'm coming to you. Or, hey, I'm thinking about leaving, you're the only firm I would consider. Or, hey, I run this company, how are you doing on, where are you with this practice? Do you think we could fit? So it's really, really nice. So I think that kind of energy in the marketplace that our brand will generate will make us a lot bigger. And if we're a lot bigger and we keep our cultural underpinnings intact, we'll have a lot of happy people and a lot of happy clients.
Kevin, thank you very much for your time today. This has been very insightful.
Ramone, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to me. I loved it, and really look forward to seeing opportunities, ideas that you guys have for us. We're ready, willing, and able, as you know. So thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.